Happy Saturday everyone, it is the weekend and today I have two videos for you, a Bible story and a story time. So get comfy and I hope you enjoy them. So we are back with Moses and his people. They have escaped and we are now seeing what is happening on their very long journey. So let's see. We're hot, the people complained. We're hungry, they moaned. Where are we going anyway, they wondered. Moses just sighed and shook his head. God had set the Hebrews free, and now he was leading back to their own special land, the land he'd given to Abraham, Isaac and Jacob. They should have been grateful, they should have been glad, but all they could do was moan. We're tired, we're thirsty, are we there yet? So Moses prayed to God, and God answered. He made fresh waters spill out of the dry rocks. He sent plum meaty quail at dinner time, and for breakfast he covered the ground with sweet white flakes. The people called this manna, a word that means this tastes good, whatever it is. Did the Hebrews stop complaining? Not for 1 minute. We're lost, we're scared, we should have stayed in Egypt. Don't be ridiculous, said Moses. God had promised to take us to our own special land, and he has chosen us to be his special people. We can trust him to do the best for us. And so God did. By day he led them with thick white cloud, by night a flaming torch, and he showed his people the way through the wilderness. Then God called Moses to the top of the mountain and gave him 10 important rules that showed his people how to live a good, happy life. And finally God showed them plans for a tabernacle, a tent where they could worship and praise his name. But the Hebrews followed other gods. They did not obey God's rules, and when they finally arrived at the land he had promised them, they refused to cross the border. We're puny, we're weak, we're afraid to go there, they moaned. So God sent them back into the wilderness and told them that they must wander there until their children were grown up. 40 years passed, the children grew up, they were tired of wandering through the desert, and when they reached the banks of the Jordan River, there was not a moan to be heard. All they could do was cheer. We've arrived, we're here, we're home at last. And God's people crossed over the promised land. So there's quite a few bits to this story. So God has sent Moses, set them free out of Egypt. They're no longer slaves, but actually they're now walking around and they are moaning more than ever. And they're almost saying, well, they are saying we should just go back to Egypt. At least we didn't have to wander around. We were fed, we weren't lost, we weren't scared. And God has already shown them, I'm here, I'm giving you water, I'm giving you food, you've got manna, what more do you want? And when they said that about going back to Egypt, Moses was like, what? God has promised us that we're going back to our own land, the promised land, the land where Abraham and Jacob and Isaac all came from. God is taking us back there, and he led them with a flaming torch and a bright white sky. But still there was moaning. But we also see during this that this is when the 10 commandments come up. Now these are the 10 rules that God gave to Moses to give to his people. So these are rules such as obey your mother and father, do not murder. They're rules that we still see now in the Old Testament and actually still should follow. We shouldn't murder our mother and father, or we shouldn't murder, but we should obey our mother and father. And these rules were put on big stones, big tablets, and they were given to Moses to give to his people. And they're rules that still are in the Bible now. But God had even set out a place for them to worship God, but this wasn't good enough. They still worshipped their own gods. They didn't worship the God that had saved them out of slavery. And they didn't stop moaning even when they reached the land they had promised. So God said, look, go and wander the land because you're still not happy. So for 40 years, while their little children grew up, they had to wander round and round in the wilderness, in the desert, because they were just complaining. Nothing was helping. They didn't see what God had done for them. And 40 years passed, and when their grown-up children went, they knew that this was the promised land. They knew what God had done for them, that God had brought them out of slavery, out of the wilderness, and now they were in the promised land. And sometimes it can be so hard for us, like when we're on a journey and we know that God is taking us out of a bad place, is putting us in a good one, but the journey can have ups and downs and can be really hard. We might moan, we might say, why God, this is really hard. School's really tough, my family's not going well. Why are you taking me through this? But actually, there are so many things that God is doing for us in that time that we just have to stop and look. Rather than moaning and thinking, this isn't how it was meant to be, we've just got to stop and look around us. So let's pray. God, we thank you that you do lead us out of bad situations, and we're sorry for the times that we moan because we don't see the plan, but help us see that plan. In your mighty name, amen. So I hope that helped, and I'll see you later. Bye.